Hello. So today for science, you're going to do two things. You're going to watch this video and listen to me talk about this study guide. And then you're going to get on SOL Pass, and I will have a list of things for you to do on there to prepare for Thursday. So you have your 9 weeks test for science on Thursday. It's not graded. However, it is still required that you take it, and it is for me to know what you guys still need to know. Okay, so it's for data. All right, so plant parts. You just need to know the typical plant parts. But there is the leaf is where photosynthesis happens. The flower protects the seed, and where pollination happens. The roots anchor. The roots anchor the plant, and that's what takes in the water and the nutrients. And the stem is what carries those water and nutrients from the roots to the rest of the plant. So when you think about plants, think about seed versus spores. The video that you watched today on Monday was vascular, non-vascular. Vascular plants reproduce with seeds. Non-vascular plants reproduce with spores. And what that means is that a seed comes from like a flower, and a spore does not. It doesn't have an anchor to it. Seeds are different in sizes, and they have a protective outer layer to keep them from, getting ruined. Coconuts are very large seeds. Isn't that crazy to think about that? All right, so pollination. Pollination is the part of the reproductive process of flowering plants. So it's when pollen is transferred from the stamen to the stigma. Okay, so the stamen to the stigma. Sepal is the thing that holds everything together. Like when the flower is closed, that's what the sepal is. The pistil is the thing in the middle. The stamen is what the pollen is made from, and the petals, of course, attract the flowers. So the stigma is what the pollen sort of goes into to get to the pistil. So you need to know those terms right there. All right, photosynthesis is when the plant makes its own food. Plants are producers. They do not need to eat anything. They produce their own food, which is glucose, sugar. They use the sunlight, the carbon dioxide that we breathe out, and water and the chlorophyll in their leaves, and they produce sugar. When they produce the sugar or their food, oxygen is produced, and what's the word I'm looking for? Produced and like released. I guess I could say that. But oxygen is released during photosynthesis. So they use our carbon dioxide and we use their oxygen. Dormancy is just when plants are dormant and they do not grow or develop over the winter. It is just a type of preservation before the environment changes. So plants and animals have adaptations, and dormancy is a plant adaptation. An adaptation is something that a plant or animal does to fit their location or to help it survive. All right, moving on to oceans. You will need to know the ocean floor. The continental shelf is what we stand on, and it goes out for about 2 miles, and then it goes down to the continental slope, and then when it reaches the abyssal plain, it's called the continental rise. The abyssal plain is the flat part of the ocean. Ocean trench goes all the way down, and mid-ocean ridges are like the mountain ranges. The bottom of the ocean is covered in sediments. The depth of the ocean changes The ocean trenches are going to be the deepest, and the continental shelf is the most shallow. Ocean water is full of salt. So just remember that salinity is the salt in the water. The Gulf Stream starts right here in the Gulf of Mexico, and it carries warm water to Europe. And there's Europe, here's the United States, here's us, Gulf of Mexico right here, the Gulf Stream, and then Europe is right here. So the ocean has three basic movements: waves, currents, and tides. Currents are caused by wind patterns, the difference of the water weight with salinity and temperature, and ocean currents affect a lot of different things. Tides are caused by the gravitational pull of the moon. Plankton is the biggest producer of oxygen, and that is just a very small, and phytoplankton is the producer of oxygen. They're just microscopic animals, and they are like the sunlight. Then phytoplankton or zooplankton starts the food chain. All right, moving on to sound, which is the last thing we'll talk about. This is just a quick video, just walking through these with you. But I do want you to spend some time looking at them. Okay, so sound waves. The sound is vibrating matter, and it is a compression wave or a longitudinal wave, but we usually call it a compression wave, where the sound waves bunch up, just like the slinky. It's a compression. When they pull apart, it is refraction. So you have a wavelength from here to here. That's called a wavelength. When you are measuring wavelength to wavelength, that is measuring the frequency of a pitch, and that is determining the either a high pitch. This would be high pitch. And this would be a low pitch. And also, when you're looking from here and up, which I notice a lot of you got that wrong on the Kahoot that we did today, that is amplitude. That's measuring how loud, this would be loud, and how quiet. So not only are you thinking about how far apart these wavelengths are, but you're also thinking about how big they are. And amplitude is how loud something or how soft something is. Matter has to be there for sound to travel. Solid is when the particles are very close together. Think about the tuning fork that we did in the sound centers. And then you have liquid and you have gas. Sound travels the fastest through solids and the worst in gas. Now remember that sound cannot travel through an empty space like outer space, because there's no molecules. There is no air, there's no gas, there's nothing in space, there's no atmosphere, so there's no particles, there's no molecules for the sound to bounce off of. Echolocation is what bats use to locate objects and food. So remember echolocation, it is like the boat sonar. And musical instruments, you have string, winds and brass, and percussion. String is when the strings are plucked, they're hit in a way to make the noise. Winds and brass, you're blowing, and percussion, you're hitting. All right, on to Edsel Pass.